right, we are green. Hopefully, we'll stay that way while I get the word out. Give me just a second, y'all. And like every week, we will get the word out and then we will get it cracking, whether the chat fills up or not. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC, and the title says it all. I am going to be 100% honest. I didn't even feel up to doing this until just about an hour ago when I was fired up just about how stupid this week has been. And I know everybody wants me to show the mug shots, and I want to be in a society where we don't normalize this level of stupidity and try to put it on the same level as those of us who are just trying to be. I am so sick of us normalizing the GOP and their antics, and this week is just proof that we have to move past them. We have to stabilize our democracy, and we have to not let their antics hold us back. Next year should be a fucking cakewalk for Democrats. Like a literal domestic terrorist. And let me just get this picture up of them, because when I think about it, when I think about how ridiculous it is to run these people as serious candidates, it boggles my mind. And I know that the RNC had their primary debates this week to start it off. And all I kept thinking is, why are we still normalizing these people? You have Tim Scott, who the only reason why I remember Tim Scott's name is because he is still one of the few openly black GOP people out there. And it boggles my mind, but it doesn't surprise me because for him, it's still lucrative. For him, he thinks he's close enough to the adjacency of white supremacy to be safe. That's why his label is Snowball Shot in Hell. Because he seems to forget that he really is under the party of white supremacy, so much so that they ran a literal domestic terrorist as their front guy, and they're letting him run again despite him being indicted. The dictator who puts the dick in dictator from Florida, Ron DeSantis, whose only notable qualities is he doesn't respect women, he doesn't respect the LGBTQ, he doesn't respect black people, he doesn't respect immigrants, he doesn't respect anybody besides Ron DeSantis. And what bothers me about the hubris of him running for president when he's running his state into the ground is he seems to think that he is on par with Trump, maybe in level of stupidity and disrespect of women, but he doesn't have a snowball's chance of hell either. So I could have switched that with any of them. No one cares about Nikki. I'm not even going to get with Miss I've stripped my cultural identity to try to present myself as a white woman when we all know your true origin, Nikki. This one is the most interesting, and not because of all the media like swooning over him saying that he came out on top of the winners versus losers, because to me everybody in the GOP are losers as far as I'm concerned, but because this man is literally using a presidential bid to get out of potential, and I have to say potential, alleged stock fixing scandals. See, he was a farmer, bro, and he did some things with the stock prices and selling, allegedly. And now, because he's running for president, he doesn't have time to go and testify about the things he may have allegedly did with the prices of the stock. And when I was reading the names of the companies that he fronted and was a part of, I was like, I'm not reading these. These sound like cartoon characters. I know pharmacies, and just by the way they name medicine, are goofy, but just the fact that he headed up these weirdly named companies, and then there's a stock trading scandal allegedly, and now he's running for president because people seem to think that running for president or becoming president is a get out of jail free card. The inmate soon to be known as 45 proves that wrong. You've got Bridgegate says hello, because I'm not going to let people forget that Chris Christie literally, in a tantrum as New Jersey governor, not only made it hard for people who just wanted to get back and forth to the commute with his nonsense with the bridge repairs, holding that up. He shut down the beach so that he and his family could sit on there, and people still use that picture of him just spread all over a chair. Because I get accused of being fat phobic when I remind people that he reminds me of Wimpy Wellington and other stuff. All I know about Chris Christie is they wanted to slam him apparently at this RNC, which I was not sitting through that debate. I don't care. I would never vote for any of these people, so I don't see why I should waste my time and dignify my time sitting through lies. But apparently, his hug to the then president who helped him during a national disaster of Hurricane Sandy is something that they used as a gotcha against him. If you needed to see how low the bar is for attacking each other on the RNC debate stage, because apparently working across the board is not allowed in the totalitarianism ways of the GOP. Then you've got the human Q-tip, or Trump doormat, as I like to refer to as Mike Pence, who seems to think that he can run on telling people, you remember when gas prices were $2? I'm going to take you backwards. Maybe even backwards to the 1950s, because that is where I felt comfortable. I still call my wife mother. He's creepy. He had a dead fly on his, not even a live fly on his dead body during the VP debates. And there's no chance in hell he has a shot at the presidency either. And these two last ones, I don't know and I don't care. I wasn't even going to play around with their labels because I really don't know, don't care. Both of them look creepy. That one under don't know really looks like he steals the souls from people when he smiles at them. And that one, I just don't care. It is literally a bunch of people who would never get my vote. I wouldn't care if they said, Tin, you have to vote for these people or die. I would choose death. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic or over dramatic with saying that, I don't care. These people have told me, as a woman, my rights don't matter. These people have told me that kids, the age of consent, is up for grabs for them because they just want breeding machines for their whole fascist propaganda army. This whole bunch of foot soldiers for fuckery, bred out of people who won't question, just obey. I have no desire to pay them any mind, yet this whole week has been inundated by the media throwing them at us like they're normal. To the point where most of them short-circuited at any talks of actually trying to unite our country, because it isn't about that for them. Their bid for power is to keep us fully divided so that they can try to conquer. You had them talking about climate, which anybody who knows, and welcome to the chat, respect, because it is them versus us. Anybody who knows the GOP's agenda for the last few years, outside of demonizing anybody poor, knows that they have been anti-science. Bush was really good at that. That's why stem cell research was set back for so many years. Anti-environmental care, because they want to frack us into the ground. They will carve this shit into anything, whether it's sacred or not. Especially if that place has gold or oil or anything they could get their little grubby hands on. Last year, they were complaining, oh, the Democrats don't want you using gas stoves, without prefacing it that gas fracking has been tearing up our lands and that there are cleaner ways to do things. But no, we can't have that. We have to make it a us versus them. And they want to restrict your rights even though nobody's doing that. So having these clowns lie about their stance on the environment, including Little Miss Nikki strips her identity, talking about, oh, we care about clean air, even though we're the ones poisoning it, and we're in lobby with the people who are poisoning it more to make profit. We care about the natural disasters that are nonsense, the fracking, the digging, and all the other bullshit that we've done to make money has done to make our earth unstable. We care about it now because we want to look like we want to earn your votes. And the young man who asked that goes to a Catholic college because, as you know, this is a theological fascism they're trying to usher us in. They're playing the long game by opening up these little freaking religious schools and then joining forces with the Catholics because they're already a messed up bunch. Their PR has been bad for a few years, and their Pope ain't helping much. And I'm sorry to my Catholic family, but you know it's true. Y'all haven't been looking good for years with your scandals, your abuse of minors. So, of course, all of you are falling into the crowd of the people who will keep your funds steady, which is the Republicans. And it's sad because I still believe that faith has a place in our society. But if faith is still trying to build wealth, if faith is still trying to hold a grip over how we carry ourselves and make a us versus them, where we attack people based on their cultural difference, their sexual identity, or gender identity, then no. Yous are going to find it harder in places where democracy reigns. But sadly, on the global front, these people have been playing a long haul because they hope that enough of us just don't care. Enough of us just sit home. Enough of us just don't pay attention. Enough of us get upset by little things. We see it in the far right's grab in countries that should know better. And if you don't think that crap can happen here with us, have you been paying attention? One of the things that troubles me about this week, because it wasn't just this ridiculous debate with people who literally, like, I can't stress it enough. If this is who the RNC is running against my president and vice president next year, I'm not worried at all. Even if it's the doofus whose mugshot was all over social media today, and I'm not. I have a very anti-Agent Orange lean. He murdered friends and family for me. So, no, we are not going to keep parading his ugly mug. I will laugh at the fact that the doofus really put down that he's 6'3" and 215 pounds, because if we're gonna lie about height and weight, y'all, I am totally 145 pounds and I am 6'1" too. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I could sell you. Dude is out of his mind. But that's the difference between justice for the most of us and justice for these wannabe rich assholes whose only claim to fame is either inheriting a bunch of wealth or hoarding a bunch of wealth. It has just been a highlight because, like I said on Tuesday, the people trying to say, well, they're sticking it to him because he's getting processed at Fulton. He was in and out of there quicker than most of us have been through the DMV. And this is the same jail that will hold black and brown people who don't have enough for bail in horrid conditions. Now, you might have gotten a smile on my face if Trump had been processed and made to stay for a night. Then we would have been cooking with a little bit more gas. But instead, he was in and out in less time than it takes most of us to get a driver's license renewal. So no, I'm not impressed by the whole processing thing. I am impressed by the 10 charges that Fannie Willis got against him, and I am hoping that one of these indictments, especially the RICO charge, gets him. That's the only thing I can fingers crossed about in this whole thing. Because the media keeps wanting to spin this. The latest article I read was how he was going to turn that mugshot in a way to raise money. I wish I could say that people wouldn't be stupid enough to feel sympathy for this man. But the fact that he only had a $250,000 bail, and the fact that he probably already crowdfunded that much, already annoys me. But it's not surprising to me that he still has loyal idiots. I don't even have to go that far in my little hubbub of a neighborhood and see people with Trump banners. Because they don't seem to care that this man has run them into the ground. That we had a preventable pandemic that took lives unnecessarily. That most of his really loyal are now sitting in jail because January 6th happened and he decided that they were going to storm the Capitol instead of honoring the vote. It is frustrating to me on so many levels, but not surprising. And welcome to the chat, D&D. I'm just like, it made me laugh. And I paused at that whole 6'3", 215 pounds, because we all exaggerate. One of the funny stories I told a couple of Bonnet Chronicles back was how my doctor was telling me that I need to stop telling people I was 5'4" because I'm only 5'3" at that, and I'm probably shrinking. Because that's the banter that she likes to do at me. We're on that comfortable level. She also thinks I'm a boring nerd, which I'm okay with that. I don't like getting in trouble. I'm over 40. I'm trying to stay out of trouble. And apparently the doctor thinks I could be doing more wild stuff. I don't know. I love my doctor though. But one of the things she dinged me on was trying to say I was 5'4", because I haven't been 5'4" ever. Maybe in heels. But it was a joke because she just was like, nah, you're 5'3" and that's a stretch. And I was okay with that. You know, there are places in my house that I can't freaking reach because of my height. I get it, I'm sure. We all exaggerate sometimes about height and weight if we can get away with it. But what troubles me about Sloucho Groucho is that the media wants to talk about it like it's newsworthy. We all know Trump lies. The man can't open his mouth without a lie falling out. He has chronic diabetes. So I don't see why we keep normalizing the goofy shit that comes out of this man's mouth. It troubles me because it doesn't make sense how we keep treating him like he's a serious candidate instead of the convict that we should be treating him as. And I said it on Spoutable and I mean it. We treat kids in hoodies, especially if they're black or indigenous or Hispanic, with more scorn, disdain, and mistrust and fear than we treat somebody who was literally on 4K. There's nobody else on tape citing these people who came and tried to storm our Capitol to steal the ballot boxes and try to overturn an election that wouldn't have been overturned from their actions in the first place. I need people to understand that Trump is caught. And then they have constant phone call tapes because I don't think people realize that our NSA does record these things of him calling different states, different state officials, trying to finagle their way out of doing the right thing by the American voters. Dead to right. That is why. And let me get this nonsense up because it was kind of a funny thing, and I prefer this than his original Rogues Gallery's ugly mugshots. Somebody with really good Photoshop skills decided to make them the Bat villains, and I'm here for it. It makes it so much easier to talk about this week of mugshots. I don't understand these people. I get that you think being adjacent to the presidency will get you some sort of power and agency, but all it's gotten these people is indictments, and they all deserve it. Each and every one of them. Then you had that pastor guy who literally wore his, I forget the official term for the priest's little collar thing, to his picture, and now all he's done is give those of us who say tax them motherfuckers more of an argument, because you should be playing tax. If you are preaching politics from the pulpit, you are literally a political agent, and anybody, whether you are a pastor or a priest that wants to mingle with politics, you need to pay the piper. We have to stop playing games with these people because they are getting a tax-free earful from people. They are getting paid to push propaganda, and it pisses me off because you will tax a mom like me or any other hardworking American into the ground. We are still struggling despite our president doing his damnedest to raise our economy up and doing a good job, mind you. This is not a knock of President Biden's great economic policy. This is a knock to the people who could be being taxed that would help us even more. They keep getting away with it because, we're the separation of church and state, except the fact that we're opening up schools to indoctrinate young minds and create little hate mongers. Except for the fact that we are heavily invested in politics as long as they say what we want them to say about morality. Ignore the fact that we've been touching little kids and making things bad for women for centuries now. Ignore our bad and focus on what we want, which is to amass money and power and keep a hold on society. So if you want to do that and run a church, you need to pay your fair share, if not more, of taxes. And I don't think anybody with a brain in their head would be against that unless you're trying to run that faith game. And that's what it is to me. And I come from a family who, my grandfather was a pastor. I have uncles who are pastors. I have aunties who are pastors who are probably like, oh no, shut up, 10. I don't care. If that is your game and you're preaching any kind of politics from your pulpit, you have to pay. You don't like it, shut the fuck up about politics. What bothers me is the last few years we've gotten so lax in holding these people accountable for stuff. And it's all over the place. And I don't care whether they preach Republican or liberal stuff. The moment you use your pulpit to say anything remotely tied to politics, you should be paying a tax because y'all influence people. And I know people will be like, well, Tim, if they help the liberal, I don't care. For way too long, we have had a taxation separation of church and state, and we have watched too many of them become literal millionaires, if not billionaires, depending on them megachurch pastors, because you know they don't report all of their finances properly. We have seen them funnel trillions of dollars through their weird music shed and other lucrative businesses because they don't get taxed. Yet they are one of the biggest influences, especially in conservative politics. And that nonsense has to stop. It is infuriating to me that they can heavily act like, oh no, we honor the separation of church and state. Yet, even at that debate, they had people from their schools questioning these clowns. You don't have to look that far. Most of their schools, their secular schools, are conservatives. It's a dangerous thing to ignore, but it is the only way we're going to counter them is hitting them where it hurts the most, their pocketbooks. Once they realize that the jig is up and they have to pay the piper, they'll be less inclined to be so politically active in front of us. We're not going to stop them because you can't stop the weirdo crazy train that is conservatism. But if we start hitting them in their pockets, we will get somewhere in protecting our democracy. And like I said, this is on a global front, but I can't worry about other countries right now. I got to worry about what's happening here. And the fact that we keep normalizing these idiots, the fact that we keep acting like there aren't at least 9 of these fuckers on top of their ass clown Agent Orange being indicted for literally trying to overturn an election, for literally inciting domestic terrorism on our capital. That kind of disrespect drives me nuts because I remember when I was on Twitter, one of the talking points, and it was infuriating, but they kept doing it. Well, what if it had been Black Lives Matter protesters that stormed the Capitol? First off, just to organize a safe rally where the cops won't beat our heads in and try to kill us is troublesome enough. The few rallies that I did when I was in the South, masked up so that I wouldn't get into any trouble, was hard enough. Because the fear that we might die from either racist idiots or the literal police that weren't there to protect us. When all we wanted was fucking Confederate statues pulled down. Or to protest the literal fucking KKK being able to openly march in Durham. It was fucking messy. So I can't imagine those of us just wanting our lives to not be snuffed out in our homes, walking in our neighborhoods, or just existing while Black, storming our capital, even though out of all of us, Black people had more of a right to be mad and want to storm the Capitol, especially while Agent Orange was still technically president. But the only people who have ever had the hubris and the nerve to think that I don't like this, I'm going to do what I want, are the conservatives. And I'm not even going to say it's one demographic because there was one brother up in those pictures and he's the only one who didn't get fucking bond. Because of course not. Because they don't look out for you if you're a person of color in the GOP. That's what makes me laugh about that earlier pick. Nikki, Miss, I can pretend I'm white. Or vivisection, or however the fuck you say that dude's name. And don't let me forget Tim Scott. Maybe I should forget Tim Scott, because he gets on my nerves. What troubles me about that guy that attacked the FBI agent, they attacked Capitol Police. Capitol Police officers literally still suffering from PTSD from that day. I don't think people understand the amount of fear that went through the people who were on site because they didn't know if they were going to die or not. And some of these people want to talk about that Ashley chick who tried to push into our Capitol and got shot because you really should not try to break in a window on DC property, especially when our senators and sitting representatives are in the building. I don't understand why these people thought they were above the law, but the person who died was a military trained woman who should have known better, but I guess her oath just wasn't important. She fucked around and she found out, and she paid with her life. And I want people to understand that I would feel more sympathy for the fact that she was brainwashed if these people didn't see how fucked up it was under 45 and just didn't care. This was an open power bid. And I don't care how much of the orange tang Kool-Aid they swallowed, there was absolutely no reason to storm our Capitol. In 2016, I had to accept what the ballot said, even after we found out after the fact that there were shenanigans and just nonsense. Those of us who knew Hillary should have won, who said, I can't believe this is happening, we were upset. We didn't want to accept it, but we knew we had to because, unlike some people, we were taught this is how life is. It's not always fair, but you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you fight harder. And that is what we did in 2020. What bothers me is that we are literally up against entitlement that thinks, well, things didn't go our way, so we're going to act violent. Things didn't go our way, so we're just going to overturn things. And it is that level of entitlement that infuriates me because the rest of us had to accept the unfairness of 2016. We put on our big girl and big boy britches and we said, all right, bet. It is going to be hell, and it was. It is going to be bad, and it was. But we will deal with this because we have been through bad, a lot of us, especially if we're black. This is just every day that starts with Y. We realized that 4 years of Trump was going to be awful, but it made us even more determined to be done with him. So what troubles me about 2020 is instead of the conservatives coalescing, I'm blanking on words, getting their shit together and realizing that you ran a literal asshole who not only stole secrets from us, but only wanted to fill him and his friends' coffers. That your party is forever stained by his nonsense, but you can wake up, finally get your shit together, and come across with a message of something that isn't so divisive. But you realize that for the last 50 or some odd years, that is all your message has been. From trying to convince us that you're the moral majority when most of you have number of adultery charges, a number of tax evasion charges, a number of literal crimes against children and trafficking stuff against you, allegedly. Yous are not the moral majority, but what yous are good shit stirrers and good at trying to fleece those who use faith as their own weird shield. All of you pseudo-religious types, you fall in the line because you realize that the only way for your ridiculous beliefs, which allow you to openly hate people and openly make people's lives miserable who are different than you, is to fall in line with these people. And that is all the Republican Party has. So for those of you who don't want to fall in line with that, welcome to the other side of democracy. Even those of you who consider yourself independent and are just tired of your weirdo Green Party or whatever other of the 175 registered parties out there, because there are a lot of them. People love to say America's a two-party system. It's actually not. There's only two main parties that ever get really voted for. But there are over 175 registered political parties in our country. It's just most of them are wacky. Like, legitimately. You can take, I think, in some states, less than a couple of $100 to register a political party. It is more in other states, but it depends. It's a state-by-state thing. And there are a lot of weird, independent, one-shot, one-off, I'm a dude with a gun type political parties out there. It's fucking nonsense. But I'm telling you, y'all, this whole week, being inundated by our media treating this nonsense as normal has been infuriating, but not surprising. They have to try to pretend like these two groups have anything in common. They want to keep things interesting. They want to keep us clicking on their news articles or watching their programs. And I'm tired. This week was exhausting because I didn't want to see this shit. I don't care until I see actual convictions. None of this matters to me. It's funny seeing stuff like this, the Photoshop, but the people that were like clamoring to actually see the mugshots, I was just like, they're not going to sit in jail, so it don't matter to me. Until I see actual convictions of all of these gargoyles, I can't get excited yet. I am happy that Fannie Willis isn't playing with these people. The attorney for Trump, one of many, because he's like a revolving door with people that represent him, was trying to get a later trial date, and they're like, no, we're ready by October 23rd. So little over a month and a half away, we will see what Miss Willis can do with all the proof. Like, they literally got this man in recorded calls asking for help. They got his crony Giuliani, as I like to call him, doing it too, pressuring people from state secretaries of state to board of election people. We got what they did to Miss Ruby and Miss Shea. Literal terrorism of citizens who are just poll workers trying to help people at their polling places. I want these people to go down for so many reasons, but especially for what they did to Miss Ruby and Miss Shea. Because I could tell you, as a Black woman, especially as somebody who moved from the North to the South, I've had both good experiences and bad experiences with people of a certain demographic. People who think that you don't belong in their spaces, people who want you to feel fear in them. And after that Alabama sweet tea, SummerSlam, as I love to call it, with the chairs, we ain't taking that nonsense no more. I'm going to bring that up as much as possible. August 5th will forever be known as the Alabama Sweet Tea Festival for me. Black people are tired, and we're not taking your nonsense anymore. I'm going to get these gargoyles off my screen for a bit. I am excited about Spoutable's new feature. I like this little word balloon. Unlike Twitter's little tuck to the side, things that are trending, I like that the topics that we're talking about most will be up in a nice, colorful word balloon, because Spoutable for me is a colorful place. It is nice waters. It has brought, for me, social media back to a point where I want to be on it again. And not to fight with people, not to debate with people every freaking day, but to just interact with friends, which is what social media was supposed to be about. And I am glad that Christopher Boozy and so many others are plugging on and plugging away. I know that our media wants to keep playing like Twitter still has a chance in hell, or Threads is going to be the next new girl. We shouldn't care. I said it before and I mean it. A slow, steady growth will be way better for our social media site than rapid popularity. I don't want us to fizzle out. I want people to be like I was when Twitter first came out. I don't know about that. My job forced me to get a Twitter account. I'm grateful for it because in the 10 years I was on there, I made a lot of friends and connections. A lot of them have joined me on Spoutable. And I feel like in 10 years, Spoutable can do a hell of a lot more than what Twitter did and won't waste people's time, attention, and revenue the way Twitter has. So I'm excited about that. But that leads me to a topic that I wanted to bring up tonight because I've seen some really troubling things on this topic. And I get that everybody has a feeling on it. And as somebody who writes sci-fi, myself, as somebody who has people reaching out to me because of the book, it is troublesome to know where I can put my work. Because I do know that they are taking authors' work and using it to train AI. I know that there are a lot of actors who are fearful that they're going to be replaced by AI. And the whole writer's strike that is currently going on is because there are a lot of people making way more money than they should, not paying the people who are doing the work who think they can just be replaced by AI. And it is because of this, AI has become the new boogeyman. Artificial intelligence is a human created technology. It is fed by a lot of our ingenuity. And I think that while there are some things we need to get right about AI, especially not exploiting it, I think too many people are using it as a get ya all tech boogeyman, and I don't like those leans. I don't think AI can replace a human mind. I just don't at this point. I don't think they have the timing or the wit for comedy. I don't think they have the timing or the wit for most dramatic writing. I think they can copy a lot of us, which is why when they offered, because I'm trying to get the audiobook together, and Apple Books reached out to me, told me that it would only take them a month and they could get the work done. And I was thinking about it, and then I started thinking Apple is one of the big companies that people have been dinging for taking authors' work, putting it into their AI system, and borrowing our way of doing things. So I paused, and I have not hit yes on that. And they keep reaching out, and I'm going to say it right now, I don't think I'm going to do it. It would be fast, yes. My friend is working on his part. But I feel like as an independent writer, making it a bit harder for big companies to exploit me is the reason why I did it this way. Is it harder? Yes, it is. I don't have the financial backings. I got to do it all myself. But my work is still my work. But it isn't because I'm anti AI. And I think a lot of people who are anti AI don't even understand the capabilities or the limitations. I know that with ChatGPT and a lot of these other new testing grounds for AI art, there are a lot of people worried that artists will be replaced, comic book drawers, and people who just want to do independent stuff. If you love art, there will always be a place for you in our society. I think that it's infuriating because so many people who do that, this is trying to replace us, are the same people who want the convenience of things like self checkout, who want the convenience of getting through things with little minimal human interaction unless they really want to talk people's ear off. I think there is a place in our society for both computer generated things and human ingenuity. We just have to get off the fear mongering that somehow this stuff is going to replace our brains, only if we let it. And we, people of color especially, need to be in on the ground up with AI talks because there are way too many tech bros that don't look like us that want to exclude us from stuff. And it has to stop. If we want to keep seeing the strides in diversity, and I know as a gamer, if you had told me, especially since I've been playing for well over 30 years, that I'd be able to play a game where I could make characters with my complexion, I would have told you get the heck out of here because I played games where I couldn't even play female. I had to just insert myself mental wise into video games for the longest time because the protagonist was always a male and always a male that was non-melanated. And now I can literally play games where I can make characters that look like me, even games like freaking Pokemon. And I know that people are like, oh, Ting, you play Pokemon? My family buys the game, I'm going to play it. And now I can make a trainer that somewhat resembles me. And that is the power of having more people in these places that will speak up. And AI definitely needs that. Because if you don't think they'll practice eugenics in some way or form in the digital age, they've done it in science. They've done it in our society. They will do it in the digital space if we do not push forward. And we can. The whole reason why computers and advanced mathematics in computers happened in the first place was because of black women. And I know some people go, what do you mean? Little history lesson. NASA hired 4 black women. I know you remember that movie, Hidden Treasures, I believe it was called. Plenty of black minds are behind a lot of the technical computations that our computers use today, but they go unsung. Half this world don't even realize that. Hidden Figures, thank you, respect. Why are they hidden though? Because we tend to keep our heads down and just want to get the work done. But if we are going to have a positive influence in the digital space, especially in regards to AI, we have to be more influential and we have to get our heads into the tech game. I don't care about making billions. I care about a digital space that doesn't exclude us, a digital space that doesn't make us feel unwanted. Because we're here. We're the reason why Twitter was so fucking successful. Twitter would have been nothing without Black Twitter. That's why any place that Black people congregate will be amazing. And that is why I'm not fearful of AI as long as we have a say and the influence. And welcome to the chat, Derp Dar. I feel like people have this weird anti-tech, and it's funny because I'm literally writing about humans who have anti-tech leans in the new novel because people don't want to understand it. But one of the things I like about the state that I'm living in currently is that we are starting to see the benefit. We are opening up factories where we are processing and making the chips that go into computers, that go into cars, because tech is our future. And instead of constantly fighting against an inevitability, we all should be getting smarter, being more aware of the practices, limitations, and what we want out of our tech. It shouldn't be I don't understand this, I fear this. That's what the other side does. And they do a damn good job because they love keeping their people fearful and afraid of anything new, anything remotely futuristic. Oh, if we open up things to diversity and stuff, the robots will take over. You know what? I welcome our AI overlords if that's the case. But honestly speaking, we all know that their fear is garbage. It's the same fear they use to justify us being free. It's the same fear they used to my other ancestors who were already on this continent, already just living their quiet indigenous lives, but wasn't enough for the colonizers. Every time they fear something, it causes more problems. That's why I will refuse to play the AI fear game because I know I can't be replaced by AI. My mind works the way my mind works. And I feel like the people that do fear it, maybe you just don't think you got anything to offer. But that's a you problem. That's not a technology problem. And I know I sound blunt about that, but I'm just annoyed with the whole idea that you cannot replace us because the last time I seen people say that, they were holding tiki torches. And I get worried when people start pushing stuff like that. I know I feel like I'm on a soapbox about this, but as somebody who is literally, this is my passion. Sci-fi for me isn't just the space stuff, even though I do love Star Trek and the idea of exploring worlds. I was always just fascinated by our own world, the logical sciences, biodiversity, botany, all kinds of biotech. And I feel like we would be so much further as humans if we would stop fear mongering against stuff that we think we don't know. AI was created by humans. So the fear of it doesn't make sense to me. But it tracks because we always find something to demonize. One of the things that I was listening to on loop is this young lady called Anika. Brilliant. I wish I had known of her sooner, but I guess she's new. She just started to break out. I've heard this lady sing both a cappella and I've been listening to her song Jericho on loop all week because I'm writing the next novel. And this is the first time I ever heard lyrics that really fit the aesthetics for where I'm going with some of the novel. Anybody who's read Axiom, and not to give too much spoilers, know I am dealing with biodiversity and biotech on a different level. I am dealing with human evolution in a way that, yeah, it seems like fantasy, but there's little seeds of possibility because we literally are developing nanotech. They have developed nanorobots that can go into the human body for things like removing blockages. I'm pretty sure they're working on ones that can actually help with surgical procedures. I've had two laparoscopic surgeries for hernias and gallbladder removal, where they didn't even have to cut me open. They just used laser stuff. We are literally moving towards a tech-driven bio future. And I just wanted to write my thoughts on how it could be achieved within humanity. But like everything, I put that little dose of reality that there are going to be humans that fight against that because they can't help themselves, because they think it's their moral right and they're perceived, because they fear the unknown and they don't want to get to know the unknown. And that's the conundrum that we're up against. You fear it, but you won't bother to get to know it. You won't bother to learn it because no, too much knowledge, bad. It's that anti-education lean that bothers me about this whole push against AI, because it just doesn't make sense. AI is not the enemy, but if we don't pay attention, if we keep trying to be anti it, the people who do consider us as other, whether we are black, brown, LGBTQ, or women especially those who think we females can just be replaced by AI, they will be the ones calling shots in this, and then AI will truly be the enemy of us. We have a shot at being informed, working within this system to make it diverse and better for all of us. And that comes not from scorning AI, but working with it. I honestly want to see more people being tech literate. I want to see more people understanding the technology, not just the phone in your hand or the computer at your fingertips, but understanding the nuances of tech, getting your hands dirty with certain tech as well, as you want to call it. I had a friend that most of us know, they're in and out of our chat, who felt bad because they were using AI to express themselves, because art is hard. I used to draw by hand. And then as I got older, both arthritis and shakes, and welcome to the chat, Scon, makes it harder for me to sit and draw the way I used to. I still sketch and doodle here and there, but it's nowhere where when I was younger. So I thought about sitting with an AI program once we move, especially, and I have more time, and starting to rattle off some of the ideas in my head, because I got a lot of ideas in my head. And while my friend and I are working on Bomb, there are other things so that I don't bog her down. I can run off of the AI and just see what my brain comes up with. So I told my friend, you don't have to feel bad. It is still what's coming out of your mind to the computer. Why should anybody feel bad about sharing a thought with a digital partner and having that digital partner make that come to life for you? What I want people to do is start utilizing digital partners, but giving credit where credit's due. Don't try to claim it as your own. And we can make an understanding of how AI is utilized. Yeah, there are always going to be those people that naysay, and who cares? The goal is to share your creativity. It isn't to impress people who aren't going to be impressed in the first place. You are more than a digital partner, honey. I get so annoyed with the people that think that AI is just going to be like the end all of humanity. And unless what like happens in my novels happens to humanity, I don't even see how tech is really going to be that influential on us. Because there are still some people in this day and age that refuse to join us in the future. I think the problem is there are people that still don't want to understand. They want everything told to them and they want everything easy. And while, yes, the digital age has made certain things easy, it would be better if more of us would learn and work with it. I don't see AI as the enemy, but I do see how it can be used against people, and I don't want that to happen. Because, like many of us in the marginalized group, we always end up on the shitty end of this if we don't pay attention. And I don't want that to happen to us. We are a big, beautiful collective of souls, and I want us to grow and flourish, and I want us to embrace that future. A lot of us, especially us older cats who came from a totally analog scene, this is futuristic to us. But I'm seeing things so much further in the future now, right in this next story. And I want that future to somehow happen. I want the things that I am seeing to somehow just be child's play in the future. I want humans to be better. And if that comes with an actual biological upgrade, even better. Because I would like it to where gender and other social constructs aren't so freaking enforced to where people can't be more fluid, be more open, be more experimental. That's how we get a healthier society. Because once you know yourself, you can live and let other people get to know themselves. But we have become such a weird, wannabe restrictive society still, when that's not going to work. It just won't. And I see us going forward, but it is going to be a fight. And one of the fights that we don't need to have is on the tech front, because the tech's already here. It's developing, and I want us to develop with it. If we want freedoms, if we want to grow and to flourish, and if we want to truly move towards a future, we cannot play the games of, I don't understand this, I fear this. We have to move with this technology. We have to learn, even if it's bit by bit. It's like I tell Kiddo, because he's still a student. You are in a great position to take knowledge in. You are not expected to know this. A lot of us, outside of HTML, I don't know coding worth jack. And even then, my HTML knowledge is about 20 years old. I still took the time to learn what I could, and it does help with the little bit of new stuff that I've learned. But I baby step through everything now, because I realize there's a lot of new stuff. A lot of things are more instant now, more cloud based now. I'm more used to more physical service type stuff. I still prefer certain physical things because I still don't trust that the powers that be won't launch us into a nuclear issue. And when all goes down, I'll still have books and hard copies of stuff. I know I'm joking. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But as technology advances, there are going to be far less hard copies of stuff. So knowing how to grab things, knowing how to navigate through things is important. And for some reason, there's like a anti-tech coalition already. I thought I was making up this shit for my book, but it feels like there are people that really want to keep the general populace ignorant of how tech works. And we cannot thrive as a society if we act like this. It doesn't matter your age or your income level. All of us have some form of technology now, whether it's a smartphone or a computer. It's to the part where our society has more people on the streets with tech than ever, which is a sad testament to our society, but it's the reality of a tech-based world. And if we are going to move forward and make it where there are less people on the streets with smartphones and more people actually housed, we have got to work together on that. No more vilifying AI as it develops. We need to work with it on the ground up. We need more diverse groups. And we need to do more than Silicon Valley. I'm not anti-West Coast. I know sometimes I come across that because I'm an East Coast girl for life. But I do feel chafed that all of our tech-based stuff comes out of California at times, and it shouldn't be that way. We have brilliant minds here on the East Coast, and not just at MIT, and we need to step up our game. I believe that we can get towards that future. I'm more hopeful than anything, especially with the week full of dinguses at the other side. But I do caution that the other side are really good at playing the long game. That's why they're pushing against women's rights to choose. They don't want us to be able to abort an unwanted pregnancy because they want women as brood mares. They want to outbreed the so-called problem. They don't care the instability that brings to our society. And that is what we're literally up against. They are culling girls at a young age. Don't think too much. Don't outshine your husband. Don't worry that he might be 20 or more years older than you. Your place is at his side, bearing his seed. You will raise them under our indoctrination in our schools, away from people that don't look or act like them. You will raise them to view those people as enemy, and they will be good little soldiers for us. That is what we are up against. Those of us who realize that our skin tone shouldn't be the enemy, our gender, our gender identities, our sexual identities should not be vilified. We are up against their radical indoctrination, their fundamental indoctrination of their people. And they really want to outbreed us at this point. So, what we have to do collectively is be smarter than them. Make sure that their little political power grabs are few and far between. Stay politically invested and stay invested in all the technology. We can do this. I truly believe that humanity has been salvaged by those of us who can adapt, get through bad times, and become stronger from it. We're still here because of that. And I think we can lead the future for humanity. But we are up against some critical mass level down. And I am hopeful that we will get our stuff together. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you all for sitting. And I really do. I love the idea of red shirts, but I'm keeping those out of the book. I know people are going to be surprised by this next novel because I went pretty dark in the first novel because when I was writing it, I came out of a lot of dark stuff, including an attempt on my life. And I wanted to really showcase the mindset of people who went through that. And even the main characters, both of them had their moments of complete sorrow. And now this next book is going to be one of hope. Yeah, there's going to be drama and little stories here and there, but it's definitely a different tone for me because I've lived life past those ideations. They still linger. I think anybody who deals with mental health and can't honestly say that those thoughts sometimes linger won't be honest about that, but they're not as heavy or prevalent as they used to be. And I hope I can convey that in this next book. That whole thing of lingering hope and building up hope in spite of tough odds. But I've rambled on enough. It has been an amazing hour. I want to thank you all for sitting in. I hope that you all have a good weekend. We're thinking about being back on Sunday for D&D. It depends on how the guys are doing. One of our friends was battling with COVID, and then last week we got some really tragic news, and it was just a rough time. And we all just wanted to play without worrying about being live. But hopefully this Sunday the gang might be back. Fingers crossed. If not, I will let you guys know. If not, I will definitely be back on Tuesday. Thank you all so much for sitting in. I really do appreciate you all. I'm going to get ready to go check on the cat and dinner. And I will see you all next week. Honey, did you want to hit it? I thought so. You too. All right, y'all. You have a great weekend, and thank you all for sitting in.